Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, your home for all Golden Grizzlies basketball. My name is Giovanni Moceri. I am your host of the GioMoShow. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to help support the show, and follow us on social media at the GioMO Show on Instagram and at GioMoSherry WXOU on Twitter. And you can use the hashtag the GioMO Show to stay involved with things, as we have finally gotten into the regular season of Golden Grizzlies basketball, and they started it off with the tough non-conference schedule that we've been talking about all throughout our previews, and it's turning out to be pretty much like we expected it to be. A final score of 121-78 was had at Chrysler Center against the Michigan Wolverines, and despite Michigan setting a program record for first half scoring with 69 points, of which the broadcast did say nice, props to the broadcast for that on FS1. But even with that, even with Charlie May, the son of Coach Dusty May, getting some scoring on for his father's team, despite the lights going out and still Michigan able to get the and one, there was still a lot of good things that we saw from the Golden Grizzlies, and Campy was still very pleased with the performance that they've had here. So we'll break all of that down here on the GioMo Show, and we'll give you we'll preview a look ahead to next game against Purdue coming up this Friday. So as far as the news and headlines, the biggest news and headlines is that the season has officially started. However, it does start with the absence of two potential starting players on the Golden Grizzlies. We were without both Michael Hogue and Warren Marshall to start off this game. That left Campy with only 8 bodies to rotate between against that insane roster that Michigan has. They put it on display all night long. They've had at least 7 players go into double-digit scoring out of the 121 points scored. You got to imagine it's been spread out a little bit, but to not have two of some of your either starting or highly rotational players, that stinks. And hopefully this is something where, and I have no knowledge of the injuries or anything, this is purely speculative as far as the timeline goes, but hopefully, and we've seen this in non-conference before, that this is something that they're just kind of taking a precaution on, not wanting to burn them out, especially against super tough competition like this. Want to make sure that they're healthy for conference play. We can only hope that that's the case for Michael Hogue and Warren Marshall, who, from what we have seen and what we have heard in all of our previews, those guys are gonna be pretty key pieces. So we were without them against Michigan, and that left the rotation to be mainly between Baru, Isaac Garrett, Nassim Mashore, Brody Robinson, and Zahir Wells, with Brett White, Coy Thurman, and Nate Deere rotating in for as much as 17 minutes. Everybody else played into the 30s. Nassim Mashore 22 minutes, but pretty heavy for those main guys as far as this game is concerned. And I want to break it into now the way the game was flowing. The biggest part of the game that I thought was early on, it felt Oakland was kind of, being frisky. They were keeping it close. I mean, we're talking within the first 5 minutes or whatever. Oakland was keeping it somewhat close. It was up to 14-10. Michigan with a 4-point lead early in the first half after Baru sinks 2 threes. I think he went 2 for 3 at this point in the game, and he had a lot of the points for the Golden Grizzlies early on. So that shows us that when Baru was talking about in the media day at the Horizon League that he wanted to expand his game, he put it on display pretty early, sinking those 2 threes, getting Oakland, a jump into this game here. But after that 14-10 score, Michigan unleashed a 20-0 run to really just blow the game open and turn it into don't look at the score, just watch the tape type of game that we're most likely going to be seeing for the next at least 2 games. So get used to it. So one big takeaway was that not only Baru, but Oakland is able to now shoot the 3 a lot better than they did last year. They were dead last in the Horizon League last year in 3-point shooting. And between Baru, between Brody Robinson especially, and even Isaac Garrett getting involved in it as well, Mashore had a couple of threes. Overall, Oakland was 42% from 3 against the University of Michigan. Regardless if it's a lot of their bench players that were playing much in the second half, I don't care about that, because when you're the number 7 team in the country, everybody on your roster should be better than that of the Golden Grizzlies. Just how college basketball is. So I take that not with a grain of salt, but with a grain of sugar, with a great sense of optimism for the three-point shooting of the Golden Grizzlies going into the rest of this season. And all this is setting the stage for Horizon League play anyway. Everything that we see here, we're going to try and do our best to project as to how this could work against more even competition in the Horizon League, and I liked a lot of what I saw here. So the three-point shooting was much improved. The, I believe, biggest headline of this game here was the showing that Isaac Garrett had. He was 8 for 10 from the floor, including 1 for 1 from 3, sunk all 3 of his free throws for a total of 20 points, and not just an efficient 20 points. Stylish 20 points. So many highlights were had from him with a lot of his moves underneath the basket. He had a great one later in the second half where he was in the corner and made a great spin move down the baseline towards the basket and just made it work behind the back, just shimmying all the big dudes on Michigan, making it a very impressive performance for Isaac Garrett, a potential all-league player for the Horizon League, putting on a great show against the Wolverines. And that's the headline you're going to be seeing for a lot of this game here. Usually, at least in my experience, when Oakland plays in these top Power 5 games, usually at least one player has like a really good game to where even if it's like, the broadcast is just trying to find something positive about Oakland, they don't have to look very hard. Usually there's one player that does pretty well in these tough games. Last year, we saw Mukeba have a lot of success, especially against Kansas, where he pretty much outplayed, at least statistically, Hunter Dickinson. And, go to the season before, you had, Trey Townsend put up a great game against Xavier, and that kind of big non-conference win they had. So we usually see this from Oakland, and Isaac Garrett is now the one to be that kind of poster child for the national viewing eye. So he had a fantastic performance. I'm really excited to see what he can do against more even competition. Otherwise, Brody Robinson, I thought, had a great performance as well, running the point very well. And yes, very small in size, but I could tell from when I was watching, he very quick, very controlled with the ball, and I felt a lot of confidence in the way he was playing. I didn't feel like he had kind of like stuttery feet and decision. I thought he ran the point very well for Oakland to kind of help them control things here. And 3 of 6 from 3 ain't bad either, as advertised for Brody Robinson. Naseem Mashore took a little bit of time to warm up. At him, I would say, did feel a little bit startled, a little bit starstruck. And again, I ain't blaming the kid for it. You're playing in the Chrysler Center against the number 7 team. Yada yada, storyline. Yeah, you're going to be a little bit wide-eyed, and a lot of the players in Oakland were, because this is just the first time that they've played against competition like this. For Naseem Mashore, it took a little bit of time for him to warm up, but I did feel his game improve as the game went on. Was able to sink a couple of threes, was 2 of 5 from deep in this game here. Zahir Wells also played a very good game, 32 minutes, was 5 of 13 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3. No, not the most impressive stat line, but some of the moves that he was showing in moments, maybe where it wasn't the 7'3" Spanish dude from Michigan when Mara wasn't on the floor. That especially let you see what Oakland was able to do, kind of more of a showcase when you don't have as many giants on the courts. And I thought Zahir Wells was one of those players that shined, at least in those kinds of moments. I'm excited to see what he can do as well. And overall for this game, you're going to hear it for the next 3 of them. We saw in the Grizz Vision that they do after every game where they get Campy's thoughts on it. It was really nothing but positivity from Campy, and it's all about learning opportunities. It's all about learning about yourself against the toughest competition. Our Jake Masucci echoed the same things when it comes to these non-conference games, that's what these games are for. You're not supposed to win. You can have the house money mentality, and it just gives you a chance to show what you're made of. And I thought Oakland showed very good things despite what the score says. Now, is the score a little bit troubling in a sense of what the hell are we going to see for the next 2 games? Yeah. if this is what Michigan can do to us, I am horrified to see what Purdue and Houston have in store for us. So, so that part of it is troubling, but otherwise, translating it, projecting it to Horizon League play, very excited. And so is Coach Campy, pointing out that there were over 1 point per possession against Michigan, which is still something you can be very confident in as well. So to cap things off, as far as the game summary of this game, I'm very pleased. I was very happy to see it, especially on national television. I would be curious to see the viewership of it, especially since the YouTube TV issues going on that eliminated ABC and ESPN. Nobody was watching Monday Night Football, so I'd be curious to see how many people were watching FS1, watching Michigan and Oakland do battle on national television. I'd be very curious to see how that is. I'm sure it's going to help in some kind of national exposure, especially because you're going to see them on national TV for at least a couple more times this season. Oakland's been earning some of that national spotlight for the past couple of years, deservingly so. So where does that bring us for next week? Next week, that brings us at Purdue, the number 1 seed, the Boilermakers. Can't be able to strike a deal with Matt Painter to put them on the schedule. And we heard some quotes from Campy about, not only just the difficulty of the schedule, but the fact that it's back to back to back. And truthfully, his answer was, when they give you a date, you make it work. When Matt Painter gives you a date, when Dusty May gives you a date, when Coach Shepard gives you a date, when Coach Sampson gives you a date, you make it work. You schedule it as you need to. And it's going to be a great payday for the Golden Grizzlies after these 3 weeks, no doubt. But Friday is against Purdue. I'm going to have a hard time seeing anything different than we saw against Michigan as far as blowing the doors off of us, scoring high, and especially they got All-Americans on that team, especially their point guard, pretty unanimously one of the best point guards in the nation, if not the. So that's going to be very difficult to play against. So I'm expecting pretty much the same thing for the Golden Grizzlies, and hopefully they can learn more and more as they go along. Buckle up. It's going to be a bulldozer coming towards us. We're going to be put in the blender, shaken up, and spat right out. But we're going to be better for it. I believe we're going to be better for it, and that's got me excited for the rest of this season. And if you look at the Golden Grizzlies schedule as to how you're going to be able to kind of tune in and watch Oakland against Purdue, it, of course, is on Peacock. Yay! We love that stuff being locked away in streaming services that people have to get if they want to watch everything, or they just have to miss out on it. But don't you worry, you don't have to miss out on Oakland versus Purdue, because my friends over at WXOU got you covered. Former sports directors Harj Brutar and Ben Schrader will be in West Lafayette at the House of the Boilermakers, giving you guys a broadcast for free exclusively on the WXOU Sports YouTube page. We'll have it live streamed. We'll get you the coverage, pre, post, halftime, everything you need for a basketball broadcast from some of WXOU's finest. So be sure to subscribe to that YouTube channel, turn your notifications on for when they go live so that you can tune in to Oakland Golden Grizzlies against the Purdue Boilermakers for the second game of the regular season. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be tuning in because I ain't got Peacock and I ain't getting it for this. Luckily, we don't have to. Thank you to WXOU for hooking that up. Thank you for Purdue for hooking my guys up. I heard that they responded to the request for media passes within a day. So that warms my heart. As a proud WXOU alum, I'll be tuning in for sure. While I'm at Barnabo Stadium covering Romeo versus Dakota for high school district finals, but we'll be multitasking a little bit on Friday night. So that's going to be a ton of fun. That'll wrap things up here on the GioMo Show. Thank you so much for watching. Rate, review, subscribe to the GioMo Show on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. for more weekly coverage of the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. Next week, we'll go over the results of the game against Purdue, and we'll see what Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars have ahead of us in next episode. So we'll see you guys there. My name is Giovanni Moceri, here for the GioMo Show, and we'll see you soon.